Good evening, everyone. It's 7 p.m., August 8th, 2024, and I'd like to welcome everyone in the room and those participating online as I call to order this meeting of the Bellbrook-Sugarcreek Board of Education for the purpose of conducting the school district's business. We value everyone's input and have made sure to dedicate a portion of this meeting to hear from you. We look forward to your comments during that time as it's indicated on our agenda. With that, Mr. Liming, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Anderson,
Here.
Mrs. Dorn,
Here.
Mr. Kinsey,
Present.
Mr. Price,
Here.
Dr. Pryor.
Present.
All right, we have a quorum. If you're able, will you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Liming, the Treasurer's Report.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the July 11th board meeting?
So moved. Second.
Mrs. Dorn and then Mrs. Anderson. Questions, corrections? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Dorn,
Yes.
Mr. Kinsey,
Yes.
Mr. Price,
Abstain. I was absent.
and Dr. Pryor.
Yes.
Can I get a motion to approve the treasurer's report for the month of July?
So moved. Second.
Dr. Pryor and then Mrs. Dorn.
Really don't have anything to add. It was included with the agenda. It's on the website. Are there any questions about anything? The trends 1 month into the fiscal year don't really mean anything when we're seeing what percentage, because we get such a large percentage of our real estate tax money in July. It looks like that's all we get. So any questions about anything on the report?
So the foundation funding is just like by month, so it's 500,000 a month times 12, so
Right.
thereabouts, okay.
Yes, 24 payments on that.
24 payments.
Well, 24 payments of half that much.
Okay,
So
all right.
12.
So in a month, it's,
2 a month, totals 500,000.
okay, all right.
Seems efficient.
With deductions, about half that much is deducted from it. We have to post the gross amount as revenue, and then there's about 250,000 a month that is deducted from it for retirements, the board share retirements, and different things like that, ESC fees.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay, please call the roll.
Mrs. Dorn,
Yes.
Mr. Kinsey,
Yes.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Dr. Pryor,
Yes.
and Mrs. Anderson.
Yes.
Okay, this next one does not require a motion. It's just a report. It's just a requirement that I make this report known to the board. If you click on the report there on 2C, it lists our commercial paper and bankers acceptance investments. And I'll try to find what that is here in just a second, but I wanted to say that when we do have discretionary funds to invest, I do a portion of it myself, and then there's a portion of it that I use an investment company for. And that's, the company we use is Red Tree Investments, and they do many districts in the state of Ohio. The funds are all FDIC insured, so there's no risk. They are aware of our investment policy and what's legal and not legal for school districts to invest in the state of Ohio. So they are the ones investing in commercial paper and banker acceptances, not me. As far as what these are, I know they're both short-term investments, which means they're less than 1 year. Most of them are less than 6 months. Let's see, if I could read, if you're into this stuff, I would read this and still not really be sure. Still not really sure what they're talking about. But anyway, commercial paper is an unsecured promissory note with a fixed maturity of usually less than 270 days. It's like an IOU that can be bought and sold because the buyers and sellers have confidence that it will be successfully redeemed later for cash based upon the credit worthiness of the companies that are issuing these. That's commercial paper. And bankers' acceptances, a banker's acceptance is a commitment by a bank to make a requested future payment The ownership is transferable prior to maturity, and they can be traded on the secondary market. They are typically in multiples of $100,000, these investments, with maturity from 1 to 6 months. So bankers' acceptances are larger amounts for a short period of time. Commercial paper is a short period of time also, but it is, the amounts are all over the board. And the investment company layers our investments so that we have some coming mature every month. So we're going to get investment earnings every month from these, and they are all short-term, and they go in a number of directions because they have a big pool of money to invest. They can get a better rate than I can do or we can do on our own. And I don't know how to get any a more layman's definition of banker's acceptance of commercial paper. That's about the best I can do. But we're required.
Akin to a CD, it sounds like.
What's that?
Akin to a CD, it sounds like.
Yes, something like that. And this, what the report shows is 23-24 fiscal year, all of the commercial paper and bankers acceptance investments that we made. And like I said, we're required to present that to the board so you're aware of it, I guess. And there's no resolution required.
So then the totals here is how much we have invested, not profit.
Right, it's how
Okay.
much has been invested,
Okay.
not profit. Right. And they invest in a number of other areas too, but those are the two things we're required to report to the board. So it's just to make it more confusing.
Thank you.
Okay.
Questions for Mr. Lyman? Okay. Anything else, sir?
Nope, I think I'm done.
All right, thank you. That takes us into correspondence. If anybody has anything for the good of the board, especially if it's something maybe that we all didn't see at the same time.
I had a band mom come tell me how much they love the new director.
Nice.
So he's doing well.
They did a good job on the fight song in the alma mater at the ribbon cutting ceremony,
Yeah.
so short time.
We had lots of compliments on the event last night at Stephen Bell, the kindergarten kickoff. It's really great to hear.
I had multiple parents come up to me after the middle school open house and orientation and say how much they appreciate the new cell phone policy.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, anything else? We will move into public input. Yes, that's you, right?
Correct on this federal grants.
That's what this is, public input on the use of
Oh,
federal
sorry.
grants.
Sorry, I thought you meant open communication.
That's okay.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
All right, I'll just go ahead and read this. Bellbrook-Sugarcreek Local School District receives federal grants through the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce via the Consolidated Continuous Improvement Plan. Monies received through IDEA-B, which is Individuals with Disabilities Education Improvement Act, and ECSE, Early Childhood Special Education, are used to provide special education services with students with identified disabilities, ages 3 to 21. Title I funds are used for supplemental initiatives and teacher salaries for reading intervention. Title IIA funds are used for targeted professional development based upon district needs. And then Title IVA funds are used for well-rounded educational initiatives, health and safety of students, and effective use of technology. These details can be found on the district website under the Communications tab. All funds must align with the goals outlined in the district's CCIP, which is Consolidated Continuous Improvement Fund, or Plan, I'm sorry. And then public input regarding the use of these funds. It's welcome until August 31st, so you can send those comments to myself or Betsy Gann, who's the Director of Curriculum and Gifted. And our emails are on the board agenda. And so, again, these are not new funds. These are funds we have been receiving year after year after year. And these, again, we're always welcome comments, but these funds are already earmarked for things that we're already doing. Title I reading intervention, our special education dollars, almost all of this or all of it goes into for the Greene County ESC. So, again, we just happy to receive input, but these are not new monies. These are things that we already received. That's it.
Okay. Now, open communication. So your thoughts and comments are very welcome during this time. When given the floor, please share your name, address, and any group affiliation you hold if it's relevant. You'll then have 5 minutes for your comments, which should be directed toward the presiding officer, who tonight happens to be me. This time is typically for the board to listen and absorb, and as such, traditionally, a dialogue is not created in this moment. In case you're wondering, the reason for these policies, which can be read in their entirety on the district's website in policy number 169.91, is to ensure that as many people as possible have the opportunity to speak and that everyone is treated equally and fairly. We would like to welcome Dr. Meredith Brinegar. Thank you so much for being here. You have 5 minutes.
All right, I hopefully won't take all 5 minutes. My name is Meredith Brinegar. I live in Ivy Crest Drive in Bellbrook. Before I launch into my prepared words, I too think the change in cell phone policy is welcome. I've already told a few of you here, including you, so I think it's going to be maybe some transitional time, but I think it's a good move. I'm mostly here tonight as a parent to warmly welcome Dr. Therese Monroe to BCI and to the Bellbrook-Sugar Creek community more broadly. I was hoping you were here, and I think you are here tonight. I was just thrilled to see her impressive credentials that span mental health. It's near and dear to my heart. I'm a mental health provider, education, and leadership. What a complementary set of experiences. Now, word gets around in a small town, and I've heard nothing but positive comments from those who know Dr. Monroe. I'm also here tonight speaking as the chair of Sugar Creek Cares, a local 501c3 that aims to make our community more inclusive and just. I try to read up on diversity and education and have been intrigued by the evidence that having teachers and administrators who look like you matters. Being taught by a teacher of the same race as you has shown to improve academic scores and social well-being and decrease disciplinary actions in students of color. We know that having even one teacher in grades K to 5 makes an especially big difference. In fact, having that first teacher who looks like you seems to produce the greatest impact with diminishing returns after that. But the good news is that this is an achievable goal even in a district like Bellbrook. What if all students of color had just one teacher who looked like them in either Stephen Bell or BCI? Now, my daughter will be starting high school next week, and I estimate that she's had 39 teachers in her 9 years of education in this district to date. All 39 of them have been white. Now, they have been fantastic, and I do think Bellbrook has a reputation for hiring excellent teachers, but they've all been white. And I think it's important for all of our students, not just our students of color, to be exposed to teachers with different racial and ethnic backgrounds. I'm a product of Ohio public education, kindergarten through my advanced degrees, and I didn't have my first teacher of color until I went to college at Ohio State. Now, most of the research I've read has focused on teacher-student racial pairings, but diversity in principals is also important. In fact, principals play a key role in hiring new teachers. One study I read showed that non-white principals had significantly more success in increasing the racial diversity of their school's teachers. So, I hope that Dr. Monroe will be the start of some welcome and long overdue changes in this district. My heartfelt thanks to the superintendent, those on the committee that hired her, and the board, who I hope will approve her tonight. I think that's the expectation. And again, welcome, Dr. Monroe.
Thank you very much for your comments. So that brings us to the end of our list for tonight, so I will close our open communication period, and we move into the superintendent's report.
So this is a consent agenda for 6A, B, C, and D, and certificated license employment, resignation, leave of absence, supplemental duty for A, and then B, administrative employment, resignation, leave of absence, C, support staff employment, resignation, leave of absence, and D, our substitute employment for the first semester.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Dorn and seconded by Dr. Pryor. Questions about tonight's consent agenda? Okay, please call the roll.
Mr. Kinsey,
Yes.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Dr. Pryor,
Yeah.
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Dorn.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Again, we want to welcome Dr. Monroe. So Dr. Monroe comes from 8 years of experience at Dayton Public Schools, 4 years as an assistant and 4 years as a head principal. Just a very strong instructional leader. has some experience as an instructional coach, so that is great. Great experience, and also strong experience in PBIS, parent engagement, and she, due to the hire date, she hit the ground running and just has done a fantastic job, and we welcome her, and she's already been at our administrative retreat, and so really has hit the ground running. So we welcome you, and we're glad that you're in the district. Thank you.
Anything you'd like to say? Maybe introduce, tell us a little bit about your family if you want. No pressure, you don't have to. But.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this fantastic school district. I've received nothing but support from community members, from the administration team, and Dr. Kozak was so nice. The other day he came and sat with me for about an hour. We followed through the schedules. Not many superintendents are able to do that, so I appreciate his support and the support of all of the administrators and staff at BCI. So thank you so much for having me. I do have a background in mental health. I was in mental health prior to changing fields to go into education. I have a family of educators, and that is the reason why I went into education and mental health. My husband is a pastor of a church. We have 2 children, a 19-year-old who attends Miami University, and a 13-year-old who is an 8th grader on the Wacola Public School. Thank you so much for having me, and I am excited.
Thank you.
Well, we're very excited you're here. Welcome, big hearty welcome, and just to echo Dr. Kozak, thank you. Thank you for bringing your talents and your skills and your advanced degrees and your experience. Thank you. We're glad you're here. Okay, back on script.
Yeah.
Where are we on? Number 7?
7A, so resolution for athletic training facility. So recommend approval, resolution to enter into an agreement, intent to accept a gift with the Bellbrook Athletic Boosters for construction of an athletic training facility on school property. And there are a couple attachments. There is the resolution, the full resolution for this, and then also the license agreement of the school district with the Bellbrook Athletic Boosters president.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Dorn and then Dr. Pryor. Comments about the resolution?
So again, so essentially this is an agreement with the boosters, essentially saying, in layman's term, that it's okay for you to go out and raise money and do that fundraising, and then once you reach $1 million, which is enough to build the facility, they're going to come back to us and say, we have the money, we're ready to start building, and then we will then go back to the board and say, okay, we're ready to go, and then they will build the facility. Hopefully they're going to raise more than $1 million. It's about 1.2 million with the stuff inside, but $1 million will at least get us the building. Will get us the building, and then once they are done with the building of it, the boosters will then donate that facility and everything to the school district, and then the school district will take that over, and then we'll be responsible for the upkeep and any type of maintenance and anything else. So that they're planning on maybe in a year or so having that's the plan, about a year or so of having that money raised for that. So.
And
Two or three meetings ago, I can't remember, that the board approved that special attorney to work with us that specializes in these kind of situations. Mr. Odell, do you want to add anything, or?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, we're very lucky to have those athletic boosters.
Yeah, any other organizations that want to come and do things and donate them to us, that's lovely.
I don't know, there's a trend going on, Lions Club and now
I know.
boosters, and so, yeah.
Fabulous, fabulous trend.
Is that legal?
Yes.
100% support.
all right, right, can we please call the roll on the resolution for the athletic training facility?
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Dr. Pryor?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Dorn?
Yes.
Mr. Kinsey?
Yes.
Thank you. Special meeting dates, so recommend approval of the following special meeting dates with K to 12 to initiate the treasurer CFO search. And you see those dates there for the September 18th, 23rd, 24th, and October 2nd in order to do that.
So moved.
Second?
Mrs. Dorn and then Mrs. Anderson?
And just as an FYI, that 23rd or 24th, one of those dates may not be needed. So we will put all those dates out there depending on the number of applicants and so forth. So we'll just take it from there.
Has the application been closed out yet, period, or is it?
Nope,
Hasn't even started yet.
yeah, it's going out the 26th of August is
okay.
the start of the application period, and then it ends right before the 18th. Yep. So working with K to 12 Consulting for us to facilitate those things.
And we're sure you want to do this. Just
You're
check.
gonna talk me out of it.
I am.
All right, can you please call the roll on these special meeting dates?
Dr. Pryor?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Dorn?
Yes.
Mr. Kinsey?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
And just to note that these meetings are at 4:30 at the St. Pierre Education Center, so at 4:30 p.m., all of them. All right, C, overnight trips, athletics, and recommend approve the following BHS athletic overnight activities. So boys cross country in September, boys golf, and both September 7th and 8th, and September 28th and 29th, all paid by those programs.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Anderson and then Dr. Pryor? Questions? You want to do it now, or do you want to? All right. We're going to recess for 7 seconds.
You want to switch mics, and I'll deal with that. Sure. Got it? Okay.
You got to hold it in a couple seconds. There we go. All right, so overnight trips were moved by Mrs. Anderson and seconded by Dr. Pryor. Please call the roll.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Dorn?
Yes.
Mr. Kinsey?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Dr. Pryor?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. For items for discussion and information. So a first read on policy draft changes. Health services, essentially the gist of that is no invasive examinations or screenings. And then the other one was due process rights. So we actually deleted a section, it was duplicated, and then in the same paragraph, and then it also had school days referenced rather than calendar days, which the rest of that policy has calendar days. So it just is a clarifying piece to that. So it's a first read tonight. It will be back on as a approval on the August 22nd meeting. It's not on here, but I just want to, again, welcome everybody back. We have staff coming back tomorrow on Friday, so our first day for staff is tomorrow. And then our first day for students in grades 1 to 12 is next Wednesday, the 14th. So ready or not, here we come, and we welcome them all back, and we'll have a good start to the school year. I know administrators and teachers and custodial staff, secretaries, central office staff has all been working extremely hard to get our schools ready to go for our students and transportation, and so things are running smoothly, and we're going to have a great start. So looking forward to it.
Amy?
Start talking and keep talking for, I think, 12 more minutes. I think this will be the shortest meeting I've ever been in. So I'm debating
I'd
if
like
I
to
should.
move to adjourn.
Yeah.
Second?
I'll second
heard
that. So.
We have a motion to adjourn, and it has been duly seconded. Please call the roll.
Mrs. Dorn,
Yes.
Mr. Kinsey?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Dr. Pryor?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
We are adjourned at 7:20.